Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's your host, Double B, a.k.a. the 110 Soldier. What is going on? All right, I have been gone for a minute. I had to go with my girlfriend. It was a birthday. They turned into a month, and I went on vacation. Then I got COVID. That thing kicked my ass. So it's been a while since I've been here, and it's been too damn long. So let's get into a lot of stuff we're going to talk about today. Let's talk about, first of all, stuff I've been around since I've been gone. Shout out to KC. Man, like I said, it's been a few weeks. So since I last left you, first of all, we lost three legends. We lost Bill Walton, Jerry West, and the Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. So rest in peace to those three. Why do celebrities always die in three? I don't know, but it just kind of seems to be a big thing. The Oilers tonight, could they get in hockey, which I don't give a shit about, but they were going to maybe possibly pull off the reverse sweep tonight. So when you get down 0-3 and possibly win 4 in a row, they have a chance to do that tonight against the Panthers. We'll see how that goes, I guess. The other big thing in sports recently was actually here in Los Angeles, where Russell Westbrook and DeMar DeRozan just danced on Drake's grave.
I see dead people.
At the Kendrick Lamar concert. Ew, boy. That's sad in a couple ways because, for one, Drake considers DeMar DeRozan his brother. You know, he's the Toronto Raptors mascot, and when they were there, you know, when DeRozan got traded, he even, went to his house, and they had all this, nice time together, and they thought they were really close. And, boy, they did that day not like us, and you had him and Westbrook damn near do-si-doing up there together. So, rough break for Drake there.
I see dead people.
What can you do? So that was all little things that happened. In bigger news, let me go ahead and get to our first picture. We'll pop it up here. Corey, the Boston Celtics have got it done. They won their now 18th championship in winning in 5 over the Dallas Mavericks. And I mean, hey.
Oh, good for you.
I hate to say it. It was, a record setting, the 18th. They now take over the Los Angeles Lakers as the most championships ever in NBA history. And it was got to be one of the most least watched. I mean, who gives a shit titles since, I don't know, the Lakers when they won the bubble title and nobody was watching, when Toronto, again, shout out to Drake, when they won their little title, when Golden State had everybody injured, Clay and KD. I mean, no one watched, no one cared. You did it. You got it done, so, congratulations there. I mean, there was just no story, and that's something I always lecture every sport about. If you don't give us a story, we just don't care. We don't get into it. It's just not that exciting. I mean, I remember when they were trying from game one to try to pump this up of oh, man, the Boston Celtics, Dallas Mavericks. It was okay. What about Kyrie? Is Kyrie going to get back at Boston? It's well, Kyrie's always had beefs with 9 teams now. He's Drake at this point. He's got plenty of enemies. There's no story there. What about, Luka winning a title? Well, we've seen a foreign guy win 1 year in Dallas. That's really not that exciting. What about Boston winning another title? Boston, they're kind of jerks. Their fans could be actually racist and assholes. There was actually Mike Breen. I don't know if you caught that. There was one, it was game 4 or 5 where Kyrie falls down to the crowd, and Mike even goes oh, the audience just said something that was completely disrespectful. So it either started with an N or an F. Either way, that's Boston there for you. So just there was nothing there, and no one really got into it, and it was kind of sad because it should have been a record-setting big deal, NBA, all that stuff. No one gave a shit. I didn't give a shit. I mean, the good news, let's start off with that. Good news is that you did have one of the greatest playoff runs, even though it was kind of handed to you. The Boston Celtics, good news, you were 16-3 in that playoff run. That's only second to the Golden State Warriors in 2017, considering one of the greatest teams of all time. They were 16-1 versus your 16-3. You were 80-21 for the season. That means overall you had a .792 win percentage. That's the best ever, other than the 85-86, considered the greatest Celtics teams of all time. That's actually just behind them in overall win percentage when you include regular season and playoffs. You're the Vegas heavy favorites to repeat next year, so that's really good news. You have all your draft picks. You have your top 4 guys under contract. The one you have to extend is Derek White. I think he'll get that done. Again, the bad news is, though, just nobody watched, nobody cared, and no one really gave you any respect for it because a plethora of reasons, including the star embarrassing himself, and I'm going to get to that here in just a second. But I mean, again, bad news. No one watched because it wasn't impressive. I mean, you beat who was in front of you, and I mean that's all you can do. But that had to have been one of the easiest. That's why I had the picture up. I mean, easy road, fool's gold. I don't really know what to say. You got handed the easiest path to a championship in any of the major 4 sports I've seen in a minute. I mean, maybe arguably in NBA history. I mean, the fact is you beat the Heat in the first round without Jimmy Butler. Who cares? You beat the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell towards the end, who was their best player. Then you go on to beat the Pacers without Halliburton at the end. I think Siakam was hurt too. And the only reason the Indiana Pacers were there is because the New York Knicks and the Milwaukee Bucks and the Sixers were all hurt. So, I mean, you went through a completely weak, injured, hurt Eastern side that was already the weaker conference, and then you get to go against the 5th seeded Dallas Mavericks, Mavericks, who then had a hurt Luka Doncic because he's too fat. Kyrie didn't play up to his level. No reason they were there in the first place because Denver blew it 2 rounds ago. So, I mean, to review, you beat 3 injured teams. You then beat the 5th-seeded team in the West that really wasn't supposed to be there because Denver ended up laying an egg. And I don't know. I mean, I guess you did it, though. I mean, you got it done. So in the end, that's what you can kind of hang your hat on. But like I said, nobody watched. I want y'all to kind of, understand that. Nobody watched this finals. And why should we have? I mean, but the numbers are there. It was 11.3 million average, which is pathetic. To give you an idea, just 5 years ago, the Golden State Warriors were averaging like 20. So, I mean, damn near half of what it was. Game 4, I mean, a lot of these were blowouts too, which didn't help besides the lack of story, was at a damn 9.6. That's the worst in recorded history since the bubble. I mean, that's the only one you actually got under. Getting under 10 million in the NBA Finals is almost impressive if it wasn't quite so sad. So, I'm really not trying to shit on Boston fans or the franchise, I am going to shit on Jason Tatum. But, I mean, overall, you still have a lot to prove. You can repeat next year. You're the Vegas favorites to repeat next year. Now, obviously, through the draft, free agency, a lot of stuff's going to happen, and we don't know. You kind of proved yourself, but we still have a lot to see against you. Go against real competition, have real adversity, and then maybe if you go back-to-back, you'll get your credit. But right now, it's partial credit, man. Most people are not really putting Boston up, even with those records. Most people are rolling their eyes at like, oh, man, they're right up there with like the 2000 Lakers or the 87 Lakers or the 85 Celtics, and we're all just like, get the fuck. Not even close, not even sniffing it, at least by the eye test. So, there you go. There's that. But the worst part of all this, and I'm going to get to the video of it here, in an MVP who needed identity, Jason Tatum, who also did not win the Finals MVP. Jaylen Brown took that from him, and I thought deservedly so. But this is a guy who I've been saying for a while, and I said it the last time I was on here, what do you do? Like, what's his identity? What is something he can cling to? What does Jason Tatum do?
What would you say you do here?
I mean, he's not top 5 in anything. I'll repeat it again. Jason Tatum was not top 5 in points. He was not top 5 in rebounds. He was not top 5 in assists, blocks, steals, field goal percentage, three-point made, three-point percentage, MVP voting, nothing. He was always a very good player and could do a lot of things great, but had no identity. So this finals was his opportunity to be like, here I am, here's my team, it's my turn now, I'm the champion, we can put the whole, face of the franchise and put the league on me, and instead he lays a complete egg. And just in the weirdest, we'll just play the video. So after the celebration, he decided to copy everybody but himself when he came up with his championship celebrations. And it was weird and it was gross. Corey, if you can hit this for me, it was just, ugh. This is right after he won the title.
Everybody would wonder what would happen if we didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Everybody wants to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
What they gonna say now? What they gonna say now?
What they gonna say now? What they gonna say?
It's a real feeling. We did it. We did it! Anything's possible. Anything's possible!
It's on the resume now. What a difference that will make in their confidence.
Oh, it certainly will, but
copying the Kobe photo. I mean, the whole thing was just, does Gen Z, does everything have to be a remake with this generation? Can y'all do anything original? But I mean, God, the whole thing doing the Kanye and the Angel and then the Kevin, I mean, it was gross. It was weird. It was unnatural. It was forced. And it was the last thing he specifically needed to do, because all we've been saying for a while is, who is Jason Tatum? What is he about? He finally gets his moment. Instead of coming up with anything, come up with something shitty. Just make it original. He decided to copy everybody else's statements, and it didn't fall well. Everybody just rolled their eyes. Everyone almost universally was like, what a douchebag. That was kind of my girlfriend, other people, we all got that same douchebag chill you get on your arm when something's just really cringy and gross, and you're just like, ugh. It just didn't work, and better luck next year. I hate to say that to a team that just won an NBA title of like, well, You'll get them next time. But the fact is, nobody watched, nobody cared. You had way too easy of a road. The star player embarrassed himself publicly, copying 4 different iconic moments, having none of his own in the last 24 hours. It just didn't really, it just had nothing to it. There was no je ne sais quoi. I'm more excited about the draft and free agency than it was about the NBA Finals. The ratings were very low. But it happened. It happened. You did it. You did it.
Oh, good for you.
We'll move on. I want to go completely the other direction now. I want to go to the WNBA, which has actually been a lot of fun. And basically, I'm going to call this part good, bad, and ugly. Let's just go ahead and call it that. I'll even do the little... I got to watch copyright. I can't play this too long. But you know what I'm talking about. Good, and bad, and the ugly of the WNBA. Oh, boy. We could go up with this picture first. I tried to tell you. I knew this was coming. This was something I had to try to toe the line on at the beginning, but I mean, you can see it here, man. I put on my psychic. I was there. I was reading it. I was like, Caitlin, Angel are coming. Y'all are going to fumble this bag. It was so easy to see that it was going to be inevitable, that it was something that you were going to have the growing pains of. You were just left unchecked too long. And nobody was able to call bullshit on anything. And I just was like, as someone who tried to give this league a chance for the last few years and had watched to what it had kind of evolved to when no one else was really paying attention, I was like, they're going to do it. And they're going to get this brand new amount of eyeballs, which was, again, like your only chance in the last 30 years to really bring a lot of attention to your sport. I mean, this was your Tiger Woods. This was your MJ to the minors. This was your kind of big moment between Angel and Caitlin and Cameron, who's now hurt. But, I mean, there was a lot of excitement coming in. I was like, they're going to fumble it. They're going to fumble this bag with their bullshit, with their whining, with their jealousy, with their bitterness. And sure enough,
you're psychic. You can predict the future.
It was bad. I mean, the good news is the fans did come in droves. I will say that. The new fans did come. Eyeballs came to this sport and were excited. I mean, there was 400,000 fans in attendance in all the games in May. That's the most they've had in 26 years. More than half the games were sellout. That's up 156% in attendance from just last year. ESPN and CBS are saying they're averaging 3 times now more than what they used to television-wise, 1.32 million viewers. WNBA.com, the merchandise site, was up 756%. Let me repeat that one more time. WNBA.com's merchandise sales are up 756%. This is the Tiger Woods to golf. This is Michael Jordan to minor league baseball. That's how big a deal this was. And so all these new eyeballs came. Everyone's all excited. And new fans found out, unfortunately, what some of us who have been trying to follow for a while have realized for a long time. This is just a tough group, man. This is a bitter... they just gone unchecked. There's no one been able to call bullshit, and it's been a while, and man, it just wasn't a great introduction. It just wasn't a hot start between everything that happened with all this new attention. We could put this picture up. It kind of reminded me of, as I'm calling it, the league you didn't want to start a viewership with. I don't know how many of y'all seen Saturday Night Live, but the lady you don't want to start a conversation with at a party. It's very similar. If you ever seen the skit, it is just this, you start a conversation with a girl at the party, and she is just this unbelievably just insufferable woke, but more uninformed than opinionated, and just kind of a pain in the ass. And through 10 seconds of that conversation, she's like, oh my God. To give you kind of an example, this would be someone who, like, yes, women have a lot of problems going on in society, but this will be the person that says, as a woman, to like headline every single topic you bring up, whether it's actually to the point or not. Be like, hey, do you like chocolate or vanilla ice cream? And they're like, as a woman, it's, oh my God, I'm talking about ice cream. Like, you know what I mean? Like that person where just nothing gets past that woke radar, and they're going to make everything an issue and victim blames. Like, yeah. That is what the WNBA has been for the last few years. It has been insufferable. It has been tough, and it's not all of them, but it's a very, very loud group, and I cannot say minority. It is at least 50%. A lot of this league has been a pain in the ass for a while, and they've always been able to throw out accusations or reasons, and now, a lot of these just kind of were pulled under the rug from them, and it's kind of unfortunate because they had to get called on their bullshit very quickly after years of developing these habits. I mean, let's face it. There's 4 core principles that they've followed for a while that made them tough to watch. This is why, like I said, I knew this was coming. I had a bad feeling. And now the only, I guess, for me is nice to see is the vindication of other people who don't look and are like me go like, oh boy. Oh, these girls are a lot, aren't they? They have 4 core principles that they've been following for the last few years, and it had really gotten louder and worse. The first one is that they would rather make a point than money. You'll see that a lot, and they're trying to break them of that habit. But for years, this league would rather make a point than make anybody, like them or want to cheer for them. They would rather make a point than make money. No matter what improvements you would give them, it was never good enough. It was never, it was always compared. Well, this league has that. Well, this person has this. It's that sort of thing that just is a poison in this league as far as kind of the culture and how they feel. They say they want fame for the league, but really most of them really want it to come through them. Like, they don't really want all the attention and eyeballs if it's not coming through their channel directly. Every sport has that, but this league more than some of the other ones I've seen, women and men's included. And the worst one they do is the number 4, is that it's usually all your fault. And that's where it becomes really difficult to keep a fan base. It is hard in any form of entertainment to tell a fan base, you suck, you're homophobic, you're racist, you're misogynist. Oh, but hey, we got a game Saturday. You want to check us out? No, you've just lectured me about what a dick I am the whole time. And I mean, to this day, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the league is still funded by the NBA. It is still mostly watched by men. You need Joe Sixpack. Caitlin Angel and all these people brought in Joe Sixpack. And it's gotten better. I will say that as time has gone along. But man, y'all really reminded me of it's like watching that skit where the girl that you don't want to start a conversation with, where they get going, you're like, oh my God, just let me get out of this. Half the time I would hear y'all talk, I was like, oh my God, let me get out of this. And it's kind of is our fault. I will say this in one way, it is kind of our fault because anybody, any group, any league, any entertainment, no matter who it is, if you are left unchecked and unable to be called on your bullshit, it's just not helpful. It's pandering. It's not actually trying to make things better. And that's really what happened here. I mean, it's 2024 and people were scared. I remember when I talked about this before everyone kind of got their eyeballs open to this, even my girl and my mom and other people were like, considering who you are and what you look like, where you come from, ease up. And I'm like, this is not about every, women's professional sports league. It's this league in particular. They have just gotten this bad poison apple, and I've been watching it develop for a while. And I had to even myself go but, let me just try to leave it alone. Let me tiptoe. Let me dance because, it's women who aren't making as much money as the men. It's obviously women of color. It's women of many in the LGBTQ community. There's a lot of things that are going on to where I am, and I think a lot of other media members decided, well, no one's really watching right now anyways. Let's just let them do their thing, leave them alone. Because why? Why take the headache of being like, hey, I'm trying to call you out as an athlete and treat you with respect to what you are doing. This has nothing to do with anything else because it was almost immediately going to get blindsided with that's because you're XYZ. No. So people left it alone for a while, and it kind of developed into this bad tornado, and then without any really, warning, it was just suddenly millions of people showed up, and then we were all kind of shocked that they were like this, and I guess I was the only one that wasn't, but I tried because I like basketball. I like watching. You know how happy I would be if women's basketball, and it's getting there, which I will talk about here in a second, it'll get back to where hopefully this is great because NBA season's over. I'm jonesing. I need basketball. And so I'm starting to get it with Caitlin and Angel, and I'll get to them. That's what makes this league fun. We need to get away from the nonsense. They are starting to get away from it. And, I mean, if this comparison didn't work for you, I had one more, Corey, if you can put it up just for fun, then I'll get into what exactly I'm talking about. Because it kind of reminds me of trying to Restaurant Impossible save this league. And I don't know if anyone watched that show, Restaurant Impossible. Poor Robert Irvine, Corey, you never see it. Well, anyways, he would go to these struggling restaurants, and he'd be like, man, for 25 years, we've been hemorrhaging money, and we don't know what we can do, and it's a family thing, and we all love each other, and God, we could really use some help. And then Robert will look around, and he'd be like, well, maybe you shouldn't do, I see you have 8-pound burritos you're selling for $1.50, and 80% of your space is like a giant disco ball. Maybe we should, no, hold on now. We want to make more money, but this is how we've always done things. This is how we've always done it. How dare you come in and take away what we do and who we are and what we're about? And Robert's just banging his head against the wall. He's like, well, I mean, you're the one telling me you're bleeding. You're the one telling me you want to make money. You're the one telling me you want to be successful. I'm trying to show you how other leagues and other restaurants got successful. And instead of being met with that, so this is very human. I don't even want to really pick on the WNBA because they're not the only business who had a lot of new people and new ideas come in and be like, hey, we've done this for a long time. We've worked really hard. We deserve our money, attention, and respect without having to change everything about who we are and what we're about. They're not by any means the only humans who have been susceptible to the idea of all this new influx of change and being met with whoa, slow down. There's a way we've done things here for a long time. We're not sure if we want to do every single thing y'all want to do. And there was a lot of pushback and hesitance. and resistance. And I think it's slowing down. Again, I think finally that kind of they've gotten over that hump between Angel and Caitlin. Cameron unfortunately got hurt, but I mean, I think there's a lot more openness and respect to it. But I mean, this was bad habits that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and it's just easier now because everyone's starting to see it. So I had a few videos to kind of reiterate my point. Then I'll get to actually, I'm going to get positive, I swear to God. One of the first ones, I went to this, I talked about this before, and actually I think Corey even asked me, you want to see the video for it. This was, if you want to talk about all the negative and all the bad kind of attitudes and things that were going on, you can put it all in the Phoenix Mercury in the last few years. If you've been following the sport, just look at the Phoenix Mercury by themselves. I'll give you 3 examples of exactly what I'm talking about. So the first one, this was head coach Vanessa Nygaard. This was last year before she got fired. And again, Brittany Griner had a return game after all the problems and, going to Russia and getting caught. And it was really a ticky-tack thing. It was more a political thing. She was put in there unfairly. But we traded the Merchant of Death to get her back. We didn't just trade back, kind of tit for tat here. It was the Merchant of Death for Brittany Griner. And not everyone was happy about it, to be honest. There was that Paul Whelan guy, and he's still, from what I understand, stuck there getting beat up or God knows what. He's still been left over there. So again, it was a controversial decision on its own, but I remember when she came back, I watched it, a lot of people watched it, and 12,000 people showed up. It was the most attendance they had had in a long time to see Brittany Griner, and it was like, yay, this is great, right? Well, first thing the head coach, Nygaard, said was this. Corey, click it for me. This is just exactly what I'm talking about.
It was great, but, honestly, come on, LA. We didn't sell out the arena for BG. I expected more, to be honest, right? It was great. It was loud. But how was it not a sellout? How was it not a sellout?
Like I said, make a point before they make money. Not all improvements are good enough, and it's all your fault. I mean, rather than just be like, hey, 12,000 people, the most we've had in a long time. We want to appreciate y'all for coming out. This is awesome. We really, look forward to more support going forward. Brittany and I, the organization, we love seeing you out there. We can't wait to get out there next time and see you all there. Something along those lines. No, instead she decides to go, God dang, you guys can't sell out. What's wrong with you? And again, it was a controversial decision. This was not something that was universally accepted by the entire United States as like, hey, I'm glad we did it. I personally was. I was glad to see Brittany come back. She was obviously held over some bullshit, and it wasn't really fair to her, and she didn't deserve to be there. Everything I've heard about her and seen, she's a nice person. She didn't deserve what happened to her. But I'm just saying, if you know as a head coach, not even a player, as a head coach, that, dude, you're already on a thin line here, to then go blame and kind of pick on the people that didn't show up, and also by proxy make the fans who did show up feel like they're not good enough. This is exactly, I remember it happening. I was like, well, there goes all that goodwill right down the drain. And so that was one. The next one I remember, this actually came out this year, so this is a new one. They just got chartered flights. And so, a lot of people, were excited for them. Caitlin Clark and Angel and all this new attention. The WNBA decided to finally give them the chartered flights that they had been asking for, even though, again, they are continuing to not make money. It's even more than it's been in previous years, too, by the way. $50 million now they are losing to just usual their $10 million. But they've given them the chartered flights. And so, this should be good, right? This is cool. You got your own chartered private flights, and you don't have to worry so much about security, and there's other issues, and, all that's been taken care of, right? No. Another Phoenix Mercury player, Sophie Cunningham, decided to say this during an interview. You can go ahead and hit this one for me, Corey. It's exactly, again, nothing's good enough.
Do not get me wrong. We are so grateful that we're able to start chartering. But with that, there's a lot of things that need to be adjusted. Our bags and some of our people can't fly with us because our charter is too small, while other teams get big planes. We want to talk about a competitive advantage. Well, that's one right there, that our team has to be split up and our bags don't even get to travel with us. And so the social media makes everything sound so great. And so butterflies and rainbows now that we got the charters, but half the teams don't even have a proper charter to fly with your whole team. So we are grateful, but there's still work to be done. And I do think that we do get a charter home tonight, which is good. But again, not everyone gets to come with us. So still needs room for improvement.
Let me clarify. Even if that's true and there's work that needs to be done, Why did you think the audience in the channel to address that was an interview to the public? Do you think any of us have chartered flights that we need to worry about that are better than yours? Why are you telling us? Go tell management. Go tell your coach. Go to the owner. Go to the general manager. There are so many channels you can go through to be like, hey, look, chartered flights are awesome, but I mean, this is something new that we're doing. Here's the issues. They're not big enough. We don't have storage for our bags, yada, yada, yada. Why, oh, why are you coming to us and complaining? Why are you telling a reporter? We don't give a shit. We don't care. I mean, I'm sorry. There's too many people that are having too many of their own problems. They don't have AC in their car. Now they got to hear a WNBA player who just got handed chartered flights, which, by the way, had nothing to do with Sophie Cunningham. It had everything to do with another player on an entire another team in an entire another city. And now I have to listen to you tell me how hard your life is. This is something they've been doing for a minute, and it's a turnoff. Like, listening to it, I get like, oh my God, really? Your chartered flight isn't great enough? And again, I have to reiterate, even if everything she said was true, this is not the channel. Coming to us and bitching was not the way to get that done. Go to your coach, go to your general manager, go to a boss, go to a million people who can actually do something about it. Do not complain to the public and then ask them for $200 to come watch you play. It is a bad idea. So again, this is something that's been building for a while. And the other one I want to talk about again is my girl, Diana Taurasi. Shout out to Diana. I'll get to her in a second. A lot of people, she's going to address, like I said, the WBA likes to make a point sometimes rather than make money. Leaving Caitlin Clark off the Olympic roster, even though you had legitimate arguments, is once again just the WNBA and women's basketball just not really grasping the moment.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this.
And I mean, universally, again, people are like, really? And I mean, a lot of people have given a lot of reasons why. I'll give you my reason why I think overall that was just a stupid idea. But this was a big talking story when I was sick for a while, so now I want to get into it. I mean, the Caitlin Clark season so far, let me just say, in general, has been kind of a microcosm of that situation in the WNBA as a whole, handling the greatest thing that they've had handed to them in 28 years. I mean, they started her off with the season from hell. I mean, a lot of people have covered this, but in case you don't know, their first 9 games were in 16 days. They had by far the most game played of anybody else in the WNBA. They were not even able to practice because they had like no time in between games. 7 of their first 9 games of those 9 in 16 days were against the top 4 teams in the league: the Sun, the Aces, the Liberty, and the Storm, who had a combined record of like 20-6. I mean, this is already a bad team who had the number 1 pick the year before that, and then you suddenly put them into murderer's row with the Golden Goose. And of course, they get off to a bad start. They start off like 1-8 or 1-9. But I mean, you guys knew what you should have been doing. I mean, you had the schedule. Everybody knew long before they made that schedule what was going to go down. Caitlin's going to go to Indiana. We need to get them off to a good start. Let's make her look good. Instead, they put her against murderer's row, where they had no ability to practice, 9-16 against all the top 4 teams in the league. And I mean, girls, boy, another thing too, a lot of misplaced trauma and anger was coming at Caitlin specifically. Angel caught a little bit of this too. I mean, just overly guarding this poor girl like she's Steph Curry in Game 7, and it's the NBA Finals, man. I mean, these girls are double, triple team, and they're hip checking her, they're rocking her, they're cheap shotting her. I mean, the one girl I remember on the Sparks Mr. Free Throw, she still had another one to go. She's already running off to guard Caitlin Clark because she's so excited. So there was even that included. There was a lot of misplaced everything was kind of myopically put in her direction of like, oh, where are these new eyeballs and why didn't they respect us before? No. I'm going to take it out on this little girl from Iowa. It was a lot of things in a row. Her teammates didn't play well, by the way, under that first run because of the pressure and the bright lights and all the audience. But I mean, again, they started her off with like the worst possible way you can start things off. And as usual, she didn't complain, didn't bitch. This is one of the reasons a lot of people like Caitlin, is while everyone else made excuses, while everybody else did a lot of things for her, every time you put a mic in front of her, I don't know Caitlin Clark personally. She might be the biggest asshole on the planet. All I know is she is great in front of a microphone. She is great when you put somebody to ask her any sort of tough question. She always will deflect to her teammates and just be happy to be here. And I mean, maybe it's because she had the attention for a while and she's used to it, and some of these other ones don't have the media training yet. But Caitlin knows how to handle a microphone in a lot of ways. A lot of these other stars don't. And I'll include the men in that. Jason Tatum repeating everything besides his own thoughts. I mean, Caitlin can always give you the right answer, nice and concise, always defer to her teammates, make it all about the league and not her, does a great job at that. But I mean, in the end, they figured it out. which has been nice to watch. The Fever are now 5-2 in their last 7. Aaliyah Boston's been figuring it out too. The Rookie of the Year from last season has been playing phenomenal. 27-13 recently, 19-14, 22-8. Mitchell is a very impressive player. Smith, the Indiana Fever games have already. If you needed to understand impact, let me just hit you with this fact. This should do everything I need to say. The Indiana Fever have already broken all 6 major networks that broadcast them, their viewership ratings ever in their WNBA history. That's really all you need to know about like how much new attention and eyeballs was coming their way. NBA TV, ION, ESPN, ABC, ESPN2, CBS have now all bragged with just, not even damn the half season mark yet. They already all have now the 6 most watched the 6 most viewed games ever in all those individual networks' history. So every one of those networks now can brag they had the most watched game. Every one of them was the Indiana Fever. Caitlin, by the way, is on her way to Rookie of the Year, although there's somebody making a beef out of it, and this is where things are getting good again. But, Caitlin, even with everything you put in front of her, she's on her way to Rookie of the Year, second in All-Star voting. She's first amongst all rookies in points, assists, 3 points made. She shoots from an average distance, by the way, 3 points made from 28 feet out. That's actually farther back than even Steph Curry. She's 14th in the league in scoring at 16.3 points per game. She's 4th in assists, 6.6 assists per game. She's 5th 3 points made in the entire league, not just rookies. She's the first rookie ever to get 35 and 5, first rookie ever to get 15, 10 assists, and 5 3-point made. Milestone, Rookie of the Year. She's cruising. Her team's cruising. They're right one game out of the playoffs now. Indiana Fever look just fine. But all that being said, let me rewind back to what the last thing I wanted to talk about, Diana Taurasi and the Olympics and her not making the Olympic roster. Because people have already made a lot of the other discussions. There's something I have a personal beef with and what I would like to see with a big game coming up. But they asked Diana right after the announcement was made. They said, hey, Caitlin didn't make the Olympic roster. How do you feel about that? And as most of the girls in the WNBA have done that really don't like Caitlin, she started off great. Then she went into her bullshit. So go ahead and play it, Corey. This is them asking her about Caitlin not making the roster.
One thing I can say is it's always a hard team to make no matter what. You go down the line the last 20 years and, USA basketball is special. A lot of people sacrifice a lot of their time throughout the year in camps and, in the junior basketball system.
So again, all good so far. She can't help herself.
Because you were young yourself, and tell me if I'm wrong, weren't you named to the roster as soon as you graduated, right? You were young.
Yeah, after I won 3 national championships in a row, I was named.
Jeez. So how did you deal with that? I know Caitlin's.
So again, they now cut to her. So again, started off nice. Started off like, hey, it's tough to make. There's a lot of deserving women. There's the juniors and this and da-da-da-da-da. And then the interviewer goes, well, yeah, you actually got voted on your rookie year to the Olympics. And she's like, oh, yeah, because I won 3 national championships in a row because Caitlin Clark didn't win a national championship. Then she had that big-ass smile on her face. They spill that tea just a little bit, just enough. But I catch it. And do you really want to go there? And this is what bothers me, and this is what I guess my overall point was, is that even though I can understand the reasons why, even though statistically she's actually doing better than Diana Taurasi, so if anybody deserves to be replaced, it's actually her specifically. But, Diana Taurasi with her 3 national championships, if you want to brag about it, let's keep it a buck. You had the best rosters of any women who have ever played college, literally ever in recorded history. This is not my words. You can Google all this yourself. The first national championship she won was with Sue Bird and 4 other girls who were drafted in the top 6 the next year. I want to repeat that one more time. When Diana Taurasi won her national championship, she was with Sue Bird, and 3 of the other girls were all also top 6 picks in the next year's WNBA draft. That first year she won was considered actually in recorded history as the greatest 5 college women to ever be on the same floor at the same time. She went to UConn. She was surrounded with All-Americans. It is like Will Perdue. I'm sorry. Well, she's better than Will Perdue, but you get the point I'm saying. This is, you did not do this on your own. Angel Reese, as much as I'm starting to become more and more into the Angel bandwagon, I'm starting to dig her more. When she won at LSU and she was bragging, yeah, we beat Caitlin. Just so you know, they had the #1 recruiting class in the entire country that year. The next year, when South Carolina beat them in the final, Caitlin, again, had nobody, not one All-American. Caitlin Clark, the closest she had to an All-American's help was the 39th best recruit in the sophomore girl in Stolke. That's the highest level besides Caitlin. The only reason Caitlin went there was because she's from there and she had personal reasons for it. She liked to coach. But I mean, other than that, she had no help whatsoever. Meanwhile, Diana Taurasi was surrounded by the greatest women ever lined up in recorded history. Angel Reese and LSU had the number 1 recruiting class that year. When South Carolina beats them the next year, they had just come off a season where 5 of their women were drafted in the WNBA draft the year before that. So all the reasons and bitching and things that I've heard, and Diana Taurasi's comments specifically, I would just want to say this. There is an all-star game coming up this year. Why is that important? Because this is something I didn't know they do in the WNBA when the Olympics roll around every 4 years. Because it hits in the middle of their season, they have to find somebody to play against in the All-Star game. The All-Stars play the Olympic team. And this year, Caitlin is second in All-Star voting, and along with Angel Reese, who's like 7th. So they're going to be on the All-Star team, and they were both excluded from the Olympic team. They get to play the Olympic team July 20th at the All-Star game. And I cannot wait to see that game.
Can't wait.
I cannot wait to see it, because the one thing that nobody has seemed to bring up, brought up that I want to bring up as to why I really am so frustrated to hear these girls like Diana, Angel, and others talk shit about what we won and she didn't, is because they have always been surrounded by the best talent, the best other players, and the best teammates, while Caitlin has dragged poor little Iowa and now the Indiana Fever, who have been one of the worst teams historically in the entire WNBA, and a complete lack of talent. For once, I would like to see Caitlin Clark be surrounded by all-stars. I would love to see Caitlin be surrounded by the best players in the league. Let's see how that goes. You know, Angel's got to do it. Kim's got to do it. Diana's definitely got to do it. I've never yet, not once, seen Caitlin play with another All-American well enough an entire group of all-stars. Let's see what she can do when everything's in her favor. I mean, she's a very willing passer. We've already found that out. She just set the franchise record with 13 assists. Let's see what Caitlin can do when you can't focus an entire defensive scheme completely on her and double and triple team her, because she's surrounded by other good players. Diana's had other good players. Angel's had other good players. Cardoso's had other good players. Almost every other one else that's had something to say has always had other people to back them up. Caitlin has dragged these teams kicking and screaming by herself and damn near won 2 national titles with little-ass Iowa. And again, the only other help was the 39th overall recruit versus the number 1 recruiting. You get what I'm saying? Give Caitlin talent. I'd love to see that. I can't wait to see this All-Star game, because she gets to go against Diana. She's going to have talent on her side. Diana's going to be on the other side. WNBA, I swear to God, if you don't give them at least 10 minutes versus each other, can't wait for it.
Can't wait.
Can't wait for it. Something I don't have to wait for, and I need to move on here because I think I'm getting short on time. Sorry, all fired up. The Caitlin Angel rivalry. Let's get to this picture. Let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the good with the WNBA. This has been awesome to watch. Somewhere Magic and Larry are smiling. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It is so, like I've been saying, I'm going to go ahead and give myself the psychic.
You're psychic. You can predict the future.
Go back and look, going back to before they even fought again in college for the second time. I'm telling you, this is so reminiscent of Magic and Larry in 1979. And this is exactly the same story of, like, you got to remember 1979 when Magic and Larry first made it to the NBA. Again, the NBA finals were on tape delay. Nobody was watching the NBA anymore. Why? They didn't like the players. They thought they were selfish. They thought they were unlikable. Any of that sound familiar yet? Larry Bird was the best player in all of NCAA basketball, but he was on crappy little Indiana State. And Magic had the show and the flash, and he had the better teammates, so he beats them in the most watched national title game of all time. They then fight neck and neck the next season in the NBA for Rookie of the Year and eventually save the league because the rivalry was so perfect, and it got people to forget about all the stuff that had happened in the late 70s that had pissed off that fan base. And like, you guys are selfish, you're assholes, we don't like you. Magic and Larry were able to take their rivalry and make the game about basketball again. How is not any of this sounding just a little bit familiar? Again, the better player on the worst team loses to the flashier girl against the better teammates. But you know what? They're still 1-2. They still like to win. They're both neck and neck. They're going into a league that's had a hard time with viewership. And, they could use something to bring the focus back to the game if only they could both be really good. Oh, turns out they're 1-2 for Rookie of the Year, just like Larry and Magic were back in the day. This has been so fun, and it just happened last night. In case y'all missed it, let's put the highlights up. Angel strikes back. Angel got her. This is great for the league. Caitlin fans, y'all have to admit, Angel got her. She got her last night for the first time in the WNBA. Let's go ahead and put the highlights up here. Average ticket price, $351 in Chicago to go check this game out. And I guarantee you, once ESPN releases the ratings, it's already going to beat the 2.25 that they got from the last game, because the last game was like 11 o'clock. This was at 2 o'clock on ESPN. And it was a battle from start to finish. And it was a beautiful game, too, because it showed both of their abilities and what they do and how they both are just so, both great players, but on different sides of the aisle. Caitlin is all shots. She's all smooth. She's pretty with it. I mean, she had her 5 threes. Again, the only rookie ever to have 15, 5 assists, and 5 threes in a game. Set the franchise record for assists that night, but doing her thing, the step backs. You know, it's pretty, it's smooth. It's easy to root for. Angel, though, got her. 87-88. Angel led 10 points in the fourth quarter. And in just the way Angel does it, there's nothing pretty about Angel's game. Angel's prettier than Caitlin off the court, but there's nothing pretty about Angel's game. She's just a dog. She's rabid. She's Draymond and Dennis Rodman put together. She has that. She even said everything. I got that dog in me, man. 25 points, 16 rebounds. That is now 8 straight games she's had a double-double. That is a rookie record herself. She's now number 2 in the entire league in rebounds. Angel Reese wants to win. I will give her that, and that's what makes her fun. I know she talks a lot of shit. I know she can be hypocritical in some of her press conferences and other things, but on the court, you always love having an Angel next to you because Angel will fight for you. Angel will fight for everybody else. And Angel she got Caitlin's lunch yesterday. You have to give it to her. They were up 15. Caitlin got passive. I think they've gotten too focused on other people in the offense like Boston and Smith. And Angel said, you know what? I'm tired of losing this girl. This is my quarter. Scores 10 in the final quarter. Leads the comeback in Chicago. Again, to a record-setting viewing audience. $350 tickets everywhere around. You had, Jason Sudeikis, Chance the Rapper there. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And it is so good for the league. And I remember after leaving that game, thinking to myself, for the first time in a while, I got to just focus on the game. That's what I loved about it more than anything else. Now I'm so excited for their next head-to-head. Every time they play each other, it just gets a little better and a little new wrinkle, and it's so Magic and Larry. It's the same thing, and it's the same ideas, too, of like the rivalry is so easily dividable when it's just, there's everything. There's color, there's style, there's even old and new. It's just perfectly divided, but it keeps it on the court, though, and each one hates the other one. Each fan base hates the other fan base, which is always, again, key to a rivalry is that you don't just want to see your good girl win, you want to see the bad girl lose. And whether you're on Angel or Caitlin's side, you view the other one as the enemy. The Caitlin fans obviously go, oh, Angel, she's mean, she talks shit, da-da-da. Angel fans be like, that girl's overrated, you only like her because of XYZ, da-da-da. We don't like you guys either. They both have a, legitimate reason to be beefing with the other, and it keeps it on the court. I mean, now head-to-head, it has been 2-1 Caitlin so far in the WNBA, but that was a great comeback. Angel had one of the best games of the entire rookie class so far this year, again with 25 and 16. Head-to-head now, Caitlin has 51 and 28 assists in 3 games. Angel, though, has 44 and 42 rebounds, man. Angel's a dog. Angel gets after it. Her game might not be as pretty as Caitlin, but it's just as effective, and it's obviously won before, as we all remember her doing, all this and that and all that to Caitlin in the NCAA finals. So I am enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. I can't really wait for the next go-around, and hopefully that'll be soon. Anyways, let me move on. I had one more point I want to make, and I might be completely out of time. The NBA draft is actually happening here Wednesday and Thursday, and a lot of things I wanted to get into with it, whether it's going to be, return of the bigs, Donovan Klingon, I'm calling him, and then you had Zach Edey. I want to see where he goes. There should be some big trades, possibly with Houston at 3, Spurs at 4 and 8, Atlanta now having the number 1 pick, and a surprise are probably trading Trae Young. Bulls might trade Zach LaVine. The Bucks might trade Lopez Middleton. There's a lot of excitement there. But again, for me, it's all about where Bronny James and the LA Lakers are going to go. And I get to be psychic one more time here. If you can put this up for me, Corey. One last picture
You're
here.
psychic. You can predict the future.
Said this was your most likely timeline about a month ago, and I'm getting closer and closer to this actually being real because you now have hired J.J. Redick. That was just announced a couple days ago. We'll see how that goes. And after J.J. got hired, Trae Young, the one who I said they're probably going to trade for, put out an hourglass emoji tweet. I thought that was very interesting as well. But the other part that I said was that Bronny's going to get drafted at 55. Most mocks have him at 55, so we'll see if it actually goes down. But I said from day one, I was like, I think your new timeline of the future is that LeBron's going to stay, you're going to draft Bronny, you're going to sign JJ as your head coach, and you're going to trade for Trae Young. Now, the question will be for a lot of people, does Bronny deserve to be drafted at 55? And no matter what y'all want to say, and I'm not a LeBron fan, to be honest, I honestly think he does. I really do. And I know that Bronny had his bad year at USC, only 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists. You got to remember, he missed 4 months with cardiac arrest. The kid almost died. He was behind that Collier kid as well. And, I mean, it's, again, too, to me, better off leaving when you have a chance to still have your mystery than stay at USC and prove otherwise. But if we can go to the video here, I'm sorry, I really do think, if nothing else, at the second round, at the 55th pick, yes, Bronny James absolutely deserves to be drafted at the 55th pick. If you can see it here, I mean, he's 19 years old. He's 6'2", 210 pounds. He's got almost a 41-inch vertical. He did 3.09 in a three-quarter sprint. He is going to be a good 3-and-D player, or at least as a prospect to be one. I mean, he himself said, you know, I could be like a Donovan Mitchell, maybe a Derek White, maybe a Drew Holiday. I think all those are fair comparisons as you watch him here. I mean, he's got a great three-point shot, much better than his dad. He's shorter than his dad, but he's very athletic. He's a good defender, and his jump shot is nice. LeBron can stroke, man. I mean, Bronny can get down for three. Don't get it twisted here. He shot 78% in the shooting drills they did at the Combine, and that was number 2 out of all the 71 prospects. So he was the second best shooter at the entire draft Combine. He's the son of a pro athlete. I'm never going to stop lecturing y'all on that. A la the Steph Currys, Klay Thompsons, Gary Paytons, Devin Bookers, Sabonis, Brunson, Horford. I mean, these kids, they grow up in it. They know what it takes. They've been around it. Again, at 55, he can be what you call a draft and stash, where you keep him for the next couple years. That's worked out for guys like Jokic, Manu, Peja, Kukoc, David Robinson, Bogdanovich. And another thing I like as you see the film here, his game is pro-ready. One thing I like about Bronny's game is that it's already streamlined. There's not a lot of fat to it. It's already kind of, you know, in the NBA, you have a limited amount of space and area you got to work with. Bronny already has all that because he's always been around and learned the pro game. So I think his game is actually more suited to the pros than it is to college. And, I mean, the other reason you would draft him at 55 is that it keeps LeBron in Los Angeles. I mean, you cannot stress enough, LeBron is still doing, 25, 7, and 7. I mean, who wouldn't use a 55th pick to keep that? But I mean, on its own, as you watch, I think Bronny is good. I think he's at least worked the 55th pick. I think he could be at least what he says. He could be maybe a Drew Holiday, Derek White, or at least a Davion Mitchell. And after it happens, remember who told you, but I really don't think you guys are wasting a pick if he can drop all the way to 55. I think the entire Laker timeline will work exactly as I told you, but I actually do think that Bronny, I've seen a lot worse, I guess, picked at the 55 spot. I guess is my final point. This is what happens when you have too many weeks off, man. You got too much to say, and you got to fit it all in. But I got to go. We'll talk to you next time. Love you. Bye.